Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Jasmine and you're watching Jazz'n It Up, and today's video I have for you guys is another ranking video. I do have an entire playlist on my channel that you guys can go check out. I've done my foundations, I've done blushes before, my loose powders, and today I'm doing all of my face palettes. I have very much enjoyed doing these ranking videos because basically I'm showing you guys my entire collection, just category by category, and I get to look at all of my products and see what I haven't used in a while and maybe which items are lower on the ranking list maybe I can get rid of one day if I do a declutter. So I'm going to be showing you guys from worst to best, my favorite face palettes that I have in my collection and my least favorite. And just because they're my least favorite doesn't mean that I don't get use out of them. I do show all of my items loving, whether if I enjoy them or if I just think they're okay. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, starting with my least favorite face palette. Alrighty, so I have 21 face palettes in my collection. Number 21 is this guy right here. This is the In the Balm of Your Hands Volume 2. This is like their greatest hits, it says on here, and I just don't reach for it as often as I thought I would. So basically it has a bunch of face powders down here from Bahama Mama, Down Boy, Frat Boy, and Instain, which is why this is in my face palette collection. But then right on top here you have 4 eyeshadows, and then you have Mary Luminizer, which is actually a highlight. I was so disappointed by Mary Luminizer. I've heard so many great things about her, and then when I went to use her, I just feel like she wasn't worth all the hype. It was just super lackluster for me. So not only do I not reach for Mary Luminizer and I was disappointed by her, but I have Bahama Mama in the full size, and then I have another one of the blushes from the Balm in a full size. So I just don't reach for these guys, and just overall I just don't reach for this, whether if it's for the eyeshadows or for the blushes, bronzer, highlight. So this is probably my least touched face palette, but I still like it. So the Balm one is number 21 on my list. I actually picked this one up from Ross. It was a very discounted price, so I didn't spend full price on this, but I just feel like I haven't gotten my money's worth out of this item yet. And number 20 on my list is actually just a duo. This is from e.l.f. This is the bronzed pink beige duo, and this is just super pigmented but in a horrible way. The bronzer in here is just a little bit too dark for me, and the blush in here is just so vibrant. Even if you go in with a light hand, you just look crazy. You look like you're wearing way too much bright pink on your cheeks, and then the bronzer just doesn't go well with my skin tone. I've used this a handful of times, and every single time I am not pleased with how my bronzer and my blush come out. So I do count this as one of my face palettes because it's not a single. Even though it's just a duo, I do actually keep it with the rest of my face palettes, and this one just isn't doing it for me. If I work really hard, I can make this work for me. Same thing with that Balm one. I can make them work. It's just that it's too much work to make them work. So it's just, what's the point in doing it when I can grab a favorite that's gonna work for me every single time I use it? So this one is number 20 on my list. Next palette on my list is this quad here from e.l.f. This is the blush palette in light, and I have nothing against e.l.f. blushes, even though these are towards the bottom. I do have other e.l.f. products towards the top of my list that I'll show you guys later, but this quad I've had for a hot minute. This one you really have to build up, and like that other duo, that one is way too pigmented. This one is almost not pigmented enough. I mix a bunch of these colors together, but for some reason I just don't reach for this palette. I don't know if it's the colors just end up looking the same to me, or I just don't think that they look nice on me, but they're just not my favorite. I don't know, I can't explain it. I have no idea why I don't reach for this, because it's so pretty every time I look at it, but every time I'm use it, it's like after a couple uses I'm ready to move on to something else. So this is towards the bottom of my list just because it doesn't excite me, it doesn't wow me, it's just okay. So this one is the next palette on my list. This one is number 19 on my list. Alrighty, number 18 on my list is this big palette here. This is from LA Colors, and this is their face palette. I've had this palette for a hot minute, and I can probably count on my 2 hands how many times I've used this palette. For some reason, I just don't grab for it. I don't know if it's because it's gigantic, or maybe I just don't know what to do with these powders. Like, obviously these ones on top you're supposed to use for bronzers, and I have 2 blushes here. I really like this one down at the bottom, but this one just doesn't do it for me. And then, are these supposed to be like face powders? Am I supposed to put these to set my concealer, to set my face? I have no idea. Maybe it's because I don't know how to use this this palette, but I have used it, you know, like I said, less than probably 10 times, and I've had this item for years, but I keep it in my collection because I'm thinking in my head that one day I'm gonna need this palette. One day I'm just gonna run out of bronzers and I'm gonna need a bronzer, or one day I'm gonna run out of powders and I'm gonna need a face powder like this. I have no idea why I keep this in my collection. The colors are really nice. I feel like this can work for a bunch of people. This will be great if you do makeup on clients because there's such a huge selection of powders, but overall this palette doesn't get a lot of love from me, and that's why it's number 18 on my list, and it's just ginormous. I keep this towards the back of the drawer because it's just so big and bulky, and then when I do pick up items for my everyday makeup drawer, I just don't want to put this in because it's like taking up half of the space. So this is why this one doesn't get too much love, but it's a good palette overall. You can use this in a lot of different ways. I really did want to love this little palette. This one is from Sleek, and this is their Blush by 3 palette, Take a Cheeky Peek, and 367 is the name of this palette, and it has 3 beautiful orangey type shades. I really wanted to like this, and it just turns out that these have like 0 pigmentation. You literally have to dig your brush and build this for like a half an hour before you can even get any type of pigment on your cheeks. I really wanted to like these orangey shades, and I feel like mixed together these shades are perfect. They're beautiful, but individual they're just not doing anything for me. Plus some of them are matte, and the one in the center is the one that has a little bit of sheen and shimmer to it, which I like in my blush. So I really have to mix all of these 3 together just to get a really nice color, and like I said, you have to build it up forever. I wish it had more pigmentation. For my preference, this one is just not my jam. Number 16 on my list, a very similar situation to that Sleek palette. This is the BH Vanilla Peach Truffle. I've heard so many good things about BH and about their products, and I do feel like they have some hits and misses. You have to really know what people are talking about what's good. If you just go and pick anything, you might end up with a miss, which I kind of feel like I ended up with a miss. This is a beautiful blush palette. I love the colors in here, except only 2 out of the 4 colors actually have any pigmentation. Just like that Sleek palette, you really have to build up your blush in order to get any type of pigmentation, I feel like, which is so unfortunate because the colors in here are beautiful, but once you use them alone, you just feel like there's nothing on your cheeks, everything's just stuck in your brush, or you just feel like you haven't picked up anything on your brush. So these colors are absolutely gorgeous. I love them, but I just wish they were just pigmented so I would be able to use them. Like I said, 2 in here do have color, so every time I always end up doing is just taking my brush and hitting all 4 of them and then use it on my cheek. So I like using it that way, and that's pretty much the only way I like doing it. Like I said before, the singles by themselves aren't doing it, but together as a team they make a really good blush, and that's how I use this palette, and I do really enjoy mixing all 4 together and the outcome, the color I do get from mixing them. So I do want to try more from BH Cosmetics. This one was just a flop for me. Maybe I got a dud, I have no idea, but this one is towards the bottom of my list just because of lack of pigmentation. I feel like all the palettes towards the bottom is either way too pigmented or not pigmented at all. So let's go ahead and dive into some really good palettes. So things are getting better now. This is the Makeup Revolution blush palette, and this is in the shade Goddess. This one has 8 blushes in here, and technically they're not all blushes. They have 8 powders in there, let me say that. And these 4 on top are clearly blushes, and then down here you have some blushes, maybe a highlight. I'm not quite sure, depending on your skin tone. I feel like you can use these powders in different ways. So I like mixing a matte blush on top here with one of the shimmery ones down here. The only thing is that these have like a harder pressed pan to them, so you really have to work at these, and I feel like they're not as metallic, you know, luscious and delicious as a highlighter. I like a beaming highlighter, but not like a stark white highlighter, if you know what I mean. I just like it to pack a punch, and these don't do that for me, but it works really well to mix in with these blushes. I have another Makeup Revolution palette that I'm going to show you guys later on that I like way better than this, so hold off on this Goddess one because I have a better one coming, but this one is really good. All right, next palette from my collection, this is the Pure and Trolls World Tour Trio. This is called Top of the Charts, and the colors in here is LED Light, Cherry, and Pretty Popular. So there is a bronzer, blush, and a highlight in here. This palette is super glittery. I have not used the bronzer yet because I don't really like a glitter in my bronzer, and it's beautiful, and maybe when I'm tan and I'm darker I can maybe use this as a blush. And then this blush is is peachy pink. I feel like it's coming out a lot pinker on camera than it is in person. And the highlight here is gorgeous. It's like a goldy white color and it's very, very shiny. Definitely packs a punch. I have to be very light-handed with this one, especially when I spritz my face with setting spray and then I go in with the highlight. You could definitely see your girl. And this one smells like chocolate. It smells delicious. I do really enjoy this, and I love Trolls, and the original one is obviously better than the World Tour, but the World Tour one was really good as well. So I do really enjoy this trio. All right, I think this one is number 13. I could be completely wrong. I have no idea. This is the Too Faced Vanilla Strawberry and Chocolate Highlighting Palette. So there is 3 different colors in here, all looking like vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate. They're beautiful. This palette is so glittery though. I think I actually added this into one of my summer favorites because it is beautiful on your skin, like if you put any on your shoulder. I love these because they're so glittery but almost too glittery, which is why they're kind of in the middle. But I do get use out of this palette, and this is way too dark to be a highlighter on me, and it's way too glittery to be a bronzer, so I don't really touch this guy that much. The highlighter I use and this strawberry shade I have used as a blush, and I've mixed it in with like other matte blushes just to kind of balance out the glitter factor in it. And like I said, these are super glittery, super powdery, but it's beautiful. I do really like this palette, and I love the packaging. Like the cones on here, adorable. So this one is from Too Faced, and I think this is number 13. I have no idea. I've kind of already lost count. Next palette in my collection, this is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Moonchild highlighter palette, and here is what she looks like. So this palette I feel like is super iconic. All of Anastasia's highlighter palettes that she came out with are super iconic. They're so gorgeous. They're beautiful. You just have to have a specific look in mind to use this palette, especially if you want to use this on your face, but I've also used these on my eyes before, so this is very versatile. But if you have a specific look in mind, then that's what this palette is for. This is not for everyday highlight. Unless you love rocking a blue highlight, then you do you, but I love the formula of this. It's gorgeous. I love the colors in here. They're super unique. Next palette I have here, this is from I Heart Revolution. This is their Chocolate Elixir Glow. This has 2 little powders in it. This one is more of like a peachy color, and then this one is more like a golden color. I love using these as blush or highlight. This one I use more as a blush, but I love both of them as a highlight as well. This one I would use as a blush if I would mix it in with like a matte blush just to give it a little bit of a sheen. But this palette is gorgeous. Even though there's only 2 colors in here, I definitely reach for this palette more than I thought that I would. I love the colors in here, and the pigmentation is there, the sheen is there. It is just overall beautiful. I highly recommend this one. All right, my 10th palette, we are in the top 10. This is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Aurora Glow Kit. I just showed you guys the Moonchild, and this one has even prettier shades. Has a beautiful purple and orange, blue. Like I said before with the Moonchild, you have to have a specific look. If you're doing like a all blues, then obviously this blue tone here would be gorgeous. You can even use this as eyeshadow like I said before as well. These are gorgeous, super pigmented, super glittery. I love Anastasia's formula, and this one I do actually get more use out of than the Moonchild's one, and I just love this. You can use this in so many different ways. So this one is number 10 in my ranking. Number 9, this one is from Beauty Gems. This was actually a gift from my cousin, and she is well loved. I'm not going to show you guys the mirror because I don't want to, you know, blind you guys, but there is powder everywhere because this palette is super powdery, but also because I just use it so much. This has highlighters and blush in it, so there's blushes on this side, and all of these highlighters are so gorgeous. I love the blushes, but the pan size is just a little bit too small, so I kind of end up just mixing them all together because you can't really get your brush into the size pan. But all together, these blushes are gorgeous. The highlights, I can get my brush into the smaller pans because I'm using a smaller highlighter brush, but this palette is just well used and loved. I really do like this one. Next palette I have here, this one is from Sleek. This one is way better than the Sleek blush palette palette I showed you guys earlier. This is their highlighter palette, and this is in Solstice. I picked this up from CVS. I feel like this Solstice palette was super popular like years ago, and that's when I had bought it, and I still use it. There is a cream one here that I've actually hit pan on, and then these three I just mixed together. This one will blind the person next to you. This palette is gorgeous. I love a blinding highlighter every once in a while, just to hit on the tippy top of my cheekbone, just to hit it. And I've even used this as inner corner highlight because it is just so brightening. It really widens up your eyes, so I really like this one. And I enjoy the cream highlight in here. I've used that on my shoulders and like on my neck if I'm wearing a v-neck, just to give my body a little bit of a shine. So I'm 100% gonna finish that cream because I've already hit pan on it. But these ones are so packed in, these highlighters, that I have not even made a dent, I feel like, and I've been using this palette for years. This palette is absolutely gorgeous. I don't even know if they still make this, but if they do, the Solstice palette from Sleek Cosmetics, get your hands on it. I think this is number 7, but then I also think I miscounted and I don't have 21. I'm not quite sure. I probably should have just written it down instead of placing them all in an order and trying to keep track. But this one is number 7, I think. This is the Makeup Revolution Sugar and Spice palette. This is actually in my current everyday makeup drawer, and this is the blush palette that I was talking about before. Better than the Goddess one. This is the Sugar and Spice. This one is gorgeous. I use every single shade in here. As you guys can see, I've hit pan here. There's 2 shimmery shades here that you can use as highlights, but they're just so pink that they're blushes to me. And I do end up mixing these together. Your brush can fit in each single powder, so you have the lighter ones on top and the darker ones on the bottom. These are just absolutely gorgeous. They're super pigmented. You can build them up or you can go light-handed depending how you prefer your blush on your cheeks. This palette is gorgeous. If I ran out of blush, I would 100% go and purchase this. So you guys saw my other e.l.f. palettes that I had towards the bottom of my list, but these ones have made it towards the top. I believe these are called the bite-size duos. I'm not quite sure. This is probably why my count is off. I'm pretty sure I counted these as one makeup palette the one time, and then I decided to separate them and make them 3 individuals. Y'all, I just threw off my numbers completely. I have 3 different shades here. The first one I have is in Spiced Apple, and then I have Pomegranate, and then I have Lychee. So actually my favorite one is Lychee. This one here, it is a blush and a highlight. You can mix them together to get a shimmery blush, or you can just use the highlight by itself. These are absolutely perfect. And the first shade that I used, I did not fall in love with, and that was in the shade Spiced Apple. That one was not my jam, and then I feel like that's why I didn't end up liking them. But then I said, maybe it's just the shade, maybe it's just me. So then I went ahead and bought these other 2, and then I fell in love with these bite sizes. So this one is in Spiced Apple, which I feel like people like this one the best, but this one just didn't work out for me. And then Pomegranate is the third one. You have to go a little bit light-handed with this one because this blush is just a little bit too bright for my skin tone. That's just me personally, but the highlighter in here is gorgeous, and these are just so perfectly pigmented, and the highlighters are stunning. I really do enjoy these duos. Alright y'all, I have 3 palettes left. We are in the top 3 of my face palette rankings. Number 3 is this palette by Makeup Revolution. This is called Brighter Than My Future. This is supposed to be a dupe for one of the Ofra palettes, and this is what she looks like. It has a bunch of highlights in here. It has a little blush moment here, a little blush moment here, just like a bronzier color, and the highlights are stunning. You don't even have to set your face with setting spray and then go on top of these to intensify them because they're intense as it is. I love this palette so much. I get so much use out of it. I just hate how bulky it is, but then I'm not complaining that much because the bigger the pans, the more of the product that I get. And this palette is affordable. I want to say maybe it's like 15-20 bucks, and you can use a coupon on Makeup Revolution. But this is my number 3 favorite palette in my entire face palette collection. This gets a lot of love and attention. My second favorite palette is also from Makeup Revolution. This is their cheek kit, and this is in the shade Fresh Perspective, and this is a quad. It has 4 different highlights in it, and I love every single one of these. And as you guys can see, Makeup Revolution makes some bomb highlighters because my second and third favorite palette in my collection, they're both from Makeup Revolution. So this quad is absolutely gorgeous. You can be seen from outer space, or it can be super subtle depending how heavy-handed you are and depending if you set your face with setting spray or not. I absolutely love every single one of these shades, and it's just so pretty. This is my second favorite palette. I don't use it enough, and I really need to pick it up more often, but every time I do use this, I like fall in love again, and then I can't put it down for like another 3 months. months. My number one top favorite face palette in my collection is from Ofra. This is the Feeling Myself highlighter palette. The shades that are in here is Blissful, Pillow Talk, and Rodeo Drive, which are super popular. They're like probably the most popular highlighters that they have. And here's what she looks like. I feel like Ofra is so iconic for their highlights. I feel like they have eyeshadow palettes, but people don't really talk about those. I feel like when you think of Ofra, you think of their highlighters, especially Rodeo Drive. That's like, I feel like their most popular shade. So these are so gorgeous. The formula is so soft and buttery. They blend out like a dream. I absolutely love this palette, and this is my number one top favorite face palette in my entire collection. Alrighty, that is all of my face palettes in my collection. I hope you guys enjoyed today's ranking. I apologize for not having my numbers in order. I also feel like these ranking videos are just a really great way for me to share my entire makeup collection, just category by category. I do want to do my highlighters next, so if you're not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and click that red button down below. If you guys aren't already following me on social media, I will have my Instagram and my Snapchat listed down below for you guys. And I also have a small business. I am self-employed, so I will have my Instagram for my business also listed down below. I hope you guys are having an awesome week, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a great day.